There's a formula to follow to get consistent, perfect welds every time. Fit up and prep. These are the kind of welds that we're after. Let me show you how to get them. Okay, now we're working on this GMC. We're going to be installing the kick panels. And you notice they're in an EDP coat finish and the wheel houses. Okay, and I've already fitted the passenger wheelhouse, but before I did that, I applied some zinc weld weld-through primer on the inside of the body. So now we have EDP coat on the part and a weld-through primer on the body sandwiched in between. Okay, so you can see it's fitted up really nicely. Everything's cinched together. We're ready to start the welding process. Now we're going to be using a MIG welder. A big part of MIG welding is a ground. That wire is coming out as soon as you pull that trigger. You don't want to impede that in any way. Now this EDP coat could do that. It could cause it to stutter. We don't want that. That's going to keep us from getting the best weld that we can possibly get. So we want to remove that. And here's how we're going to do it. Okay, now this is a little mini spot blaster. Now the reason I like this one, it'll vacuum up the media as it's blasting. Yeah, you just make contact with the tip, hold it firmly, pull the trigger, vacuums back up. Really inexpensive. Now this is another type. This is a gravity type media blaster. It makes a mess. Either one will work, both pretty inexpensive. Okay, for media. Now this one has some coarser media in it, but we want to use fine media for working with sheet metal. Okay, let me show you how this is done. This is one of the best welding prep tips that I can show you. It doesn't get better than that. That's bare steel. That's going to make a great contact. When you're MIG welding, you're going to get really nice welds. Okay, now I've already spot blasted all of these welds to give you a look at the prep. And the alternative, usually people will grind the backsides. You know, that's where rust and corrosion can start. We don't want that. Now it's very important. You want to blow the media or the sand out. That will cause you problems. Huge, good ground. Always get a good ground in whatever type of welding you're going to do. People ask me all the time, what do I set my welder at? Well, first you have to know your thickness of metal. Now that's a little gauge. A lot of times they'll come with welders. They're really expensive. Get that. Now that we know what we're working with, 18 gauge. So with that knowledge, we can come over to our welder. Now this is a digital readout. It doesn't matter if you have the other type or not. Every welder on the inside has a chart. This is going to establish your baseline. Wire feed speed and voltage. Okay, so we're working the 035, 18 gauge, so our baseline is 16 and 120. Now we know where to set our machine initially. And it's always a good idea, hey, get some scrap. Practice on that before you start on something that's important. Never hurts. But now we have a baseline. Now we can start adjusting. Here's another great tip. See that little slag ball on the end? You want to clip that off? because that can impede contact when you pull that trigger in continuity. Start with a fresh cut tip. Now, if you're working with thicker metals, not so important. Sheet metal, very important. Okay, we always want to start in the less or least visible place. Why? Okay, by the time we get to the top, we should have our machine set and we should be producing our best welds. With me, it always takes a few minutes to figure out how to get my best welds. I want to do them on the bottom. By the time I get to the top, man, they should be gold. We should have everything dialed in and producing our best welds. And the better the welds, the less the grinding, less material cost. Okay, so here we go. We've got our fit up and our prep. Let's see what that produces or allows us to produce. We're just taking our time. So all of that we've done allows us to do this really nice flat plug welds. That's going to translate into material savings and time. Now we want to hit that with the wire wheel to check, make sure there's no issues, nothing we have to come back and address. We don't want to use this. That's 24 grit. We want to use this. That's 60 grit on a flap wheel. If your welds are nice, you don't have to use an aggressive way to dress them down. Now we just come back, hit it with the flap wheel, and it is that easy. How many times have you had to spend a ton of time grinding? Yeah, this is the way I'm going to do it. That produced really nice results, and it didn't remove a lot of metal in the process. Now we're just going to go ahead and finish out the rest. And now there's another important step. We want to think about the backside also. But first, we're going to finish off this face with some little 80 grit on a DA. And with a flap wheel and a DA, the 80 grit, that's really all the material you need to spend money on, instead of like a grinding disc or a grinding wheel, then a grinding disc, and then 2 or 3 types of different sandpapers. Hey, I'm just using 2 to finish this off. And there that is. It's looking really good. Everything's going our way. Not gouging the metal. There's what we have. Okay, now we still need to drill holes for the fender mount holes. And we want to do that now before we address the backside, because drilling these holes will probably leave a little bit of material on the backside. We want to address that also. Okay, backside prep. Now, usually I'll just use some red Scotch-Brite. Red is more aggressive. Get that all really nice and prepped. And we want to put a light coat of either a primer or filler that is sandable. That's very important. Or we want to use this zinc weld that we used previously on the inside. That's a good metal prep, good bonding. Or an encapsulator. POR 15 is good. You can use other encapsulators. It's just important to address the backside. And here's our finish out. That's the formula to produce some really nice welds. And since we're working with thinner gauge sheet metal, you want to be really accurate. Hey, go make some great looking welds. like, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, thank you for watching.